Welcome to our review of Shazam. So we just got back from the theater, and what do you guys think?
Wow. Right into that one, didn't you?
Of course!
I liked it. You know, it was a fun, family-oriented superhero movie, which used to be the norm, but, you know, with more of the rated R and the dark tone type movies that have been kind of dominating recently, this felt like a really refreshing palate cleanser, but one that not just stood out because it was, you know, kind of standing out from the current tide. It was one that was also really well done.
I think this is probably DC's best movie.
I mean, that bar wasn't.
No, that's fair. But I mean, like, it was exactly what you said. It was enjoyable. It was kind of like that palate cleanser going back to the origins of superhero movies, where there was a lot more comedy, things like that. I had a great time watching it too.
I think it was a very good attempt at being sort of a parody style movie of superhero movies.
See, I don't think they were trying to parody it.
It felt like they were a lot. It definitely
there was a lot of references.
I can see that, but I think
it was definitely a family hero movie. I will agree with that.
Less a parody and more self-aware.
Yes,
right, because it was a more difficult, unique, you know, situation with a child that becomes a superhero. And, you know, even in the world of superheroes, they even more so, they know these people exist. They idolize them. They look up to them. So you find yourself in a situation, it's like, what is a kid going to do with superpowers? He's not ready for that. So I can see where some of the parody might have come from, but I think it was just more of a self-awareness of, you know, like, this kid really, like, he has no life experience to back up, you know, any sort of, like, new experiences with superpowers. He's being thrust into all of this very quickly.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing.
Well, yeah,
for pretty much most of the movie.
But I can totally see where the parody might come from.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it also goes through the classic origin of, like, not knowing what your powers are, but in such a great way. Like, he's like, okay, laser eyes, go! And he's like, how do I do that? And
wait, what heroes didn't know how to use their powers?
There was a lot of heroes in the early days that, like, think about the original Spider-Man, right? Where he's like, he has an idea and he's like, should I jump off this building? Should I not? Like, he doesn't understand the breadth of what his character can do. And neither did Zach Levi's character. Like Shazam. Like, he just didn't know.
For a lot of those heroes, though, at least they sort of had an idea. Like, oh, spider powers. Or, I mean, then there's, of course, the heroes like Batman that create their powers.
Yes.
Well, he must have known what he had to work with.
But even like the Flash, he can move fast. He figures like most of his ability. Shazam, like, he has nothing.
Yeah, he was like, I'm a wizard now.
There's really nothing telling him what his powers are going to be. And even when he sort of starts figuring them out,
still doesn't know.
They're kind of random.
Can I fly?
He kind of just has an assortment of powers and has to try and figure them out over time.
Right? And I think that whole discovery of the powers led to a lot of the humor in the movie too. Like, those were some of the parts where I'm sure Alex heard me. There was parts where I was just laughing out loud in the theater, which I don't normally do myself.
No.
Like, I find it funny, and it's more like, that's funny. But like this, I was actually laughing in the theater.
In terms of the comedy they put in it, I think those were basically all the funny parts, were when they were trying to test out the powers, or when he used a power unexpectedly, not realizing it was going to be a power.
Get him, Batman!
That was most of the humor for me.
So, why don't we jump into the cast? What did you guys think of the cast?
Very forgettable, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Most of it. I would say, okay,
most of them were very
the two
forgettable.
kids that the movie was based around, I think they did a good job.
I think they had a very good relationship together there. And,
Asher Angel and Jack Dylan Grazer.
Yes.
And they definitely...
Thank you, IMDb.
They definitely played their parts well, as far as it is.
Well, yeah, the one kid, like, you know, he's...
Which one? Freddie? Billy?
Billy.
The hero. The main hero.
You
didn't know the name of the main character.
It's forgettable.
But, like, he's on a journey of self-discovery, not just as a superhero, but also, like, discovering what family is and things like that. So that's an important part of his character.
Yep.
And
I want to give credit to both him and Zachary Levi because they had to play essentially the same character. And that, to me, seems like it would be difficult to do, right? Because you have Zachary Levi, who is an adult, who has to now integrate similar childish elements, mannerisms, facial expressions into that role, and almost like they're kind of mimicking each other in these different ways. And I think both of them did a fantastic job with the role, where I found it quite believable.
Seamless, right?
Yes, exactly.
I actually have to disagree with that.
Really?
I thought that was one of the worst parts of the movie, was that he seemed, when he became a superhero, he seemed to become a 10-year-old. I think he overdid it. I think he was playing it too young, too foolish, too naive about everything. I think because the character he was playing when he was a child was extremely jaded. He was, I believe, 15. He was had a very sour outlook in life. And it felt like he became way too childish when he became a superhero all the time.
I mean, introduce a 15-year-old to superpowers. I'm assuming his demeanor is going to change.
Yes. But
because if you think about it, there are parts in the middle, which we won't get into the plot reasons of it. He does become more jaded. He becomes more selfish. Mm-hmm. He becomes... I found it like...
kind of a shithead.
And initially... I found that he was very childish because, seriously, hand a 15-year-old superpowers, right? They're gonna get high on that adrenaline.
Yeah, the times where he's just, flexing for the camera
exactly,
and, stuff like that.
Exactly.
You wouldn't see the adult doing that. And, it's almost
I would. Give me superpowers. I'll act 10 years old. But no, seriously, can you just imagine how overwhelming that must feel to now all of a sudden be bulletproof, super strong, super fast? Okay, it's gonna, eventually it'll settle in and you'll realize, the girth of it. But initially it's oh my God, I can do all this stuff. I would get giddy.
And why would he want to be a kid again, right? His life as a kid is so jaded. Exactly what you said. Yeah. It would almost be that escapism, right? Where it's he can just become the superhero and stay that way and not have to deal with all the BS.
I will say, though, in regards to, other characters being forgettable, I do want to give credit. I thought Mark Strong was a very good villain.
I thought he...
I don't think he's going to agree with anything.
No. I thought he did the best what he could. I didn't like the lack... They basically felt like they didn't do anything with the villain. I thought he played the villain itself well.
That's what I just said.
But they didn't actually do anything with him.
I didn't say that they did something with him. I said he did a good job.
It's fine. It's a segue almost, right? So, more for storyline, right? But yeah, Mark Strong, he's a good actor. You can't really knock him for anything. So, he plays a villain. He's done a villain numerous times in the past, so I can't imagine him doing it poorly, really.
Yeah, I think he fits it. Absolutely. Alex, I'm going to ask you because clearly, talk to us about the plot, man.
I think for a family movie, it had a very good plot.
It definitely had a moral of the story type feeling, and I thought that was very heartwarming. I thought it was very touching. Yeah. Whether they had missteps or not, I came out of the movie thinking that was really heartwarming. Right?
Yeah. It basically.
But tell me why they did it wrong.
No, I think the plot from a family style movie, meant for kids, meant for the family, all that sort of thing, was actually really good. It was basically hit all the right notes in there. As far as it comes to a hero movie, though, it was mainly the lack of development of the villain, or the villains, I should say. But it doesn't feel like the villains are utilized whatsoever.
Okay.
And there's really no connection with the hero and the villain. There's really nothing there's expectations you have with the villains as the 7 deadly sins, right? That you basically see right away. But none of that actually they could have just been random putties basically.
Yeah.
Rather than this actual villain. And even the villain himself, as well played as he is basically just generic villain.
he's the opposition to his power,
Yeah.
right? Like the whole idea is that he has the same powers as him. He's more mature though because he's an adult. So he knows a little bit better to control his
in a way,
emotions.
He's more mature.
Obviously,
In a way.
the villains were more than just putties. We could beat putties.
It could be though. I mean, that requires the Power Rangers, man.
Maybe not the like newer movie ones, but like the ones with the blatant like Z on their chest.
Yeah.
Just hit it. Throw a baseball at it. I'm not worried about them. Obviously, they're going to be more than that, but no, keep going.
I mean, I felt that it was very predictable, which isn't bad for that style of movie. Other than that, I mean, it was good. It fit exactly what he said. It hit all the notes that it needed to.
All right. Well, let's talk special effects then.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like it was the B team for the special effects compared to some of the more recent DC movies we've gotten.
I don't know if they did it on purpose though, because again, like it almost felt hokey at times. But was it meant to be hokey just because of like the style of movie? Because I mean, you know, if it's too realistic, maybe the kids aren't going to really understand. But if they make it hokey, kids are like, that's funny, you know, like.
Well, and I do think that like that's got to be an element of it because we saw a lot more children in the theater for this than we see for a lot of the movies we go to, and. You know, like for example, the looks of the Seven Deadly Sins, right? Mm-hmm. If they made them like very realistic, very grotesque, you don't want children. Like it's like one scene where one of them bit somebody's head off, and like they did some clever camera work, cutting away and stuff like that. But like, you know, they definitely
like gargoyles.
They definitely did have to like walk a thin line in that regard, which. In that sense, I do give it a little bit of a forgiveness in that sense. But yeah, really, the special effects were, you know, as much as you know, Marvel's been knocking it out of the park. Even the recent DC movies have had better standards of special effects for this. So,
I mean, I've always looked at it as kind of like Marvel here and DC here, anyway. So like it's almost like I can't
even
tell
look at like say Aquaman very recently with. All of the different races, underwater scenes, like they definitely, again, not a step below Marvel, but like this was even further below that. So
this did feel like it was sort of an early 2000s style movie that it could have been made well over a decade ago.
So any other points you guys want to make? Pacing?
I mean,
it had the origin story pacing problem that it always has, like very slow at the start and then basically all the battling is pushed towards the end, and I don't really feel like the combat choreography was particularly good in this case. For the most part, it was a lot. I mean, it was a lot of zapping each other. And when there was physical combat, it was usually just charging at each other and then separating.
Or like a nut punch.
But there.
But doesn't that seem like more like a kid who's just been given superpowers and has no actual training would fight?
Oh, for sure.
Right? Like, and they even alluded to that early when he fights the bullies in the school before he gets his superpowers. He flat out says, he's like, I fight dirty. Like, because he's not trained.
No,
he doesn't have any.
With the stick. Right?
Yeah, like he doesn't have any training. Like, this is just a kid who got superpowers and he's just trying to make do with what he's got.
Yeah.
I do have one point to make, and it's kind of like the overarching. It kind of blends into a lot of the superhero movies. But I'm wondering if the reason why they did this movie now is that we have so many adults who are now having kids who are in that age group who will watch superhero movies. Because if you think about the older superhero generation, right? Like, a lot of us were younger, even late teens and stuff like that. And then as you saw, so many of those movies started to mature and mature and mature, with like the later Marvel movies being very deep and meaningful and having a lot of character development. And this one feels like it was meant for like our 10-year-old kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be kids around.
Yeah.
I think they were just trying to tap into a different market.
I think they were trying to have like an answer to sort of the Guardians of the Galaxy, that type of thing.
That's fair.
They looked at Marvel, they saw, Marvel did a couple of really funny movies, and they did it very well. Maybe we need to
do that instead of trying so hard to make it dark and gritty.
Other than the really serious stuff, yeah. And I mean, it definitely is not nearly as dark and gritty as the other ones, and it has a very easy to follow story for children. And it's the sort of thing that a family could, bring their kids to and not feel bad about it, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's go to final scores then. You're going to be last.
Okay. All right.
Joshy, take it away.
I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I know it seems high, but I really enjoyed myself in the theater. Like, I just went in and it was almost nonstop laughter for me watching this movie. Like, the couple of moments where it was meant to feel for the characters, those were the only times I wasn't laughing. And otherwise, it was great. And I had a great time. So I can't complain about it too much. Other than what you've said.
Don't think it's high, because even going into this, I was ready to give it an 8 out of 10, and an enthusiastic 8 out of 10. I thought that it was exactly what I said at the beginning. It was a fun family movie. I got to laugh. I got to see, what I didn't think the fight choreography was too bad, because again, I thought it was thematically accurate.
Kid, yeah.
I had a fun time in the theater, and that's really all I need. And honestly, it was kind of nice that there was references to other DC characters,
Yeah.
but not like the recent Marvel movies where like everything I have to analyze as how it's going to tie into a larger cinematic universe, and could just go in, watch the one movie for what it is, have the few references, and just have a good time.
I'm giving it a 6 out of 10.
Oh!
I thought it felt fairly inconsistent in almost every way, other than staying to the family theme throughout it.
And how dare they cater to a family audience?
Kids. What a bunch of jerks.
Don't they realize that this is their audience?
Actually, that's one of the things that brought it up to a 6.
Oh!
Was that I thought it did a very good job of being a good family movie. But I thought all the other failings, brought it down quite a bit.
Well, that's fair. I mean, he's entitled to his opinion, even if it's wrong.
Well, is that all you have to say?
Yeah, that's all.
All right, well, that's our review. Nobody ever does, but feel free to leave your comments, feedback. Let us know what you thought of the movie. Let us know if you agree with the right opinion or the wrong opinion. Until next time, live in the real world, play in a Pixel one.
Hey, did you like that video? If you did, be sure to let us know by clicking the like button and leaving a comment. If you want to be first in line for any new content, be sure to subscribe to our channel and then hit up our Facebook page. The link's in the description below to see what's coming up next.